Hi, it's Bronwyn from Rap. Noise gates are fantastic tools, and you can use them to clean up spill or bleed from one mic into another. For example, the hi-hat spill in the snare drum mic. You can also use them to clean up the in-between bits of a vocal or guitar part. And then there are a lot more creative uses, such as creating interesting rhythms on a pad sound, for example. But today, we're going to have a look at how to get the classic big sound of the 80s, and yes, I'm talking about gated reverb. Now, the 80s style synth pop has made a really nice comeback the last little while, and this technique is not just for classic or retro sound, but it can actually be used in any typical EDM genre to get a really nice big sound. And I'm working on a super track from the Retro Sample Pack by Too Deep. It's available at rloops.com. So I'm going to demonstrate the technique on the snare drum today. Let's have a quick listen to the intro. Nice. Now, to get the gated snare drum sound, you're going to need to create a send on the snare track, which I've done over here, and we're going to rename it Gated Reverb. And then you're going to need to put in a series of plugins in this very specific order. Number one, a reverb. After that, a compressor, then your noise gate, and then an equalizer. Now, the first thing to do is to add the reverb. And what you want to do with this reverb is find something that really works nicely. You're going to have to experiment. It's all going to depend on the style of the song itself. You may end up using different reverbs for different tracks on your album. So the best idea is to just experiment around with the reverb and find something that works. So let's have a listen to the snare and the reverb that I've called up. You want to make sure that you set your wet volume over here to 100% and the dry volume to 0, so you get as much reverb as possible and as little of the original audio source. Okay, you want a nice long decay time, so over a second is nice, and then you want a nice sustain and a nice release time on that as well. You don't want that volume wavering too much. Fantastic. All right, I think it sounds really good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in the compressor, and I've already dialed in some settings on this compressor. You can see that my ratio is sitting at over 5:1. And I've got my makeup gain over here. You can see I've got my limiter switched on. I've also added in some flavor, some saturation. I've dialed in a specific color into the sound that I'm looking for. A nice fast attack and a quite quick release time as well. Let's have a listen to that reverb with a compressor. You can hear how that compression is really bringing out the tail end of that reverb. Now, again, you're looking for something to experiment with. There are no hard rules and there are no go-to settings in this. You can use a really fast attack time is what I suggest. And I've also used quite a quick release time. Hey, you can even try it out with not even using a compressor at all. So let's just have a listen again to what the compressor does to that reverb. Nice. Right, let's pull up the noise gate, and you'll realize that you can't use the compressed reverb as the trigger. So we're going to insert the snare drum onto the sidechain so that it triggers the noise gate. The noise gate is going to open and close based on the original drum track. So instead of having the noise gate use the reverb track's unvarying levels because of the heavy compression, we'll actually have it use the levels of the original drum track. So when the original snare drum strikes, the noise gate will open up and allow the reverb to shine through. Let's just set the hold setting over here to 500 milliseconds, which is around about half a second. And the hold tells the gate how long it needs to stay open for. And then we want the release time to be really nice and fast. You want it to close abruptly, but you want it to be slow enough so that it's still a smooth transition. So let's have a listen. Let's move that threshold. Right, let's move the whole time. I'm going to add in the kicks. Yeah, I'm liking that. Let's have a listen to it in context with the rest of the mix. All right, what I'm going to do now is add in some EQ just to add in some brightness. And I've given it a bit of a presence bump at around about 5 kilohertz. Listen to that snare. The original. And there you go, gated reverb. Just repeat the steps for any other sound that you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.
I'm gonna be even when the days are darker. I'll be on the way you go and take care of you like always. I will save you suddenly. Even when the days are darker, I'll be on the way you go and take care of you like always. I will save you suddenly. I will save you suddenly. Save you suddenly. I will save you suddenly. I will save you suddenly.